2 weeks ago, I shared our three focus areas for 2021: loving students well, leading leaders well, and partnering with parents well. With those in mind, I also think it's important to share with you this idea: vision is vital. Now, what does that mean? Well, what follows is an adapted version of part one and two of our small group leader video training series that I think applies to parents just as much. My Christian Leadership Seminary professor, who also happens to be a pilot, shared with his class in one lecture the importance of vision. He likened it to a pilot having the correct numbers dialed in as he flies his plane. Pilots, when they fly, they can't see their final destination. They know where they want to go, but they have to rely on certain things to ensure that they land in the desired destination. When you get it right, it's a beautiful thing. But, my professor explained, even 1 degree in directional heading off can be disastrous. It might not be that big of a deal if your flight's only about 100 miles or so, but when you're flying thousands and thousands of miles over oceans, you can land in a different country or even a different continent. And that's crazy to think about. Well, when it comes to family discipleship, it's the same way. Just like every plane has basically the same general structure and basically the same instruments to fly, so family discipleship is going to consist of the same elements. What do we need? We need a parent or a guardian. We need a student, a Bible, and a willingness and the courage to start somewhere. While the elements are mostly the same, we as the leaders of our families need to make sure that we're all heading in the same direction using the right coordinates. So what's our vision? Or what is our end goal? Well, it's simple. We want to see students worship God, love people, share Jesus, and make disciples. We want to see teenagers taking steps to deepen their relationship to and obedience with Christ. It's simple to say, but it takes consistency and work to accomplish. It's not a 1 hour drop them off on Sunday morning kind of mission. It's going to involve time and setbacks and obstacles, but the end result will be worth it if we stick with it. Over the coming weeks, I want to break down each part of that vision statement. To begin, let's consider what it means to worship God. Worshiping God is active. It's not passive, right? It takes discipline and intentionality. Worshiping God, despite what they may say, doesn't happen while they're playing video games. It doesn't happen while they're binge watching Netflix or aimlessly scrolling through social media. Worshiping God is a result of a relationship with Him. It looks like reading and meditating on His Word. It looks like prayer, like singing songs of praise and adoration. It looks like serving Him by serving the church and our community. Again, worship is active, and in worship is a response. It's a response to the understanding of who God is, what He's done on our behalf by sending Jesus to die for our sins. And that's the gospel, right? Worship is a response to the gospel. So if we want students to worship, then we have to keep the gospel front and center in our families. Listen, there should never be a day that passes without the reality of the gospel being brought to the table in some way. Whether that's in response to a struggle your student is dealing with, or simply prayer at dinner or bedtime. If we want students to worship God, then they must be confronted with and encouraged by the truth and the reality of the gospel. If we keep the gospel front and center, then I believe we will see families and students genuinely, authentically worship God in spirit and in truth, as Jesus talks about in John chapter 4. Some upcoming events for us to be aware of as parents. Pastor Ronnie's continuing his Spiritual Disciplines Wednesday night series, this week talking about personal evangelism and sharing Jesus. This Wednesday for students, we're going to be in the Grace Sanctuary. There's a paint project going on in the student space, and so for this Wednesday, we'll be meeting in the sanctuary. And lastly, I want to remind you of our annual parent meeting that's coming up very soon, just a few Sundays away, February 7th, right after the 10:30 a.m. worship service. It's going to be in the Grace Sanctuary, so you don't even have to leave. We'll have pizza provided for anybody who wants to partake. We can't wait to see you. I love you guys. Keep working, keep loving your students for Jesus. See you guys later.